Hello everybody, welcome to this Excel 365 video on the switch and the choose functions. I'm going to go over each and then give you two examples of each, and by the end of this you should have a thorough understanding of how you can use these functions in your daily Excel activities. Okay, starting with the switch function. The first input of the switch function is the expression, and this is the value that you want to check for. And the second, third, fourth comma are the value 1, result 1, value 2, result 2, etc. As many values and results as you want. It'll look for the expression that you input for one of the values, and if it finds a value, it'll return the matching result for that value. So it'll switch the value with the result. So for example, if you put 1 into this switch function, it would replace that and return as an output the word first. And if you put 2 in, it'll replace that and switch with the value of second. And it'll go down the list until your last comma, which will be your default value. Nothing matched in the list, then this is what you want it to return. Okay, so let's look at it in action here. We have this switch formula here, and I'm just going to change these values to 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6, 99, etc. Okay, so that may not be the most practical example in the world, but it shows you how the switch function works, and I think that's pretty easy to understand. Okay, let's look at this second example, which is an XLOOKUP. If you look at the switch function within that XLOOKUP, you can see that it's going to output a range as the output instead of a string or a number. So you can imagine that can open up some possibilities. In this case, it's going to determine which range to return back once it finds the match for the XLOOKUP. And that range will be determined by the switch function. So in this case, if the user puts 2023, the return range for the XLOOKUP will be D7 to D11. The user puts 2022. The return range will be E7 to E11. And we can look at that in action here. We see the formulas put in, and we can change the year here. 2022, 2023. Maybe we'll change the city here and change the year. Okay, let's move on to the choose function. There are some pros and cons of the choose compared to the switch function. One of the pros and or cons of the choose function is the way that the value is input into the function. The choose function uses an index number as opposed to an expression with the switch function. The index number then simply indexes through values 1, value 2, value 3, up until the total number of values that you input. The pro of that is it's simpler structure. There's less inputs you need to make. You don't need to put 1 and then the return value and then 2 and the return value. You just put value, 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 value. The con is it's very restrictive on how you can make your index number. You have to do 1, 2, 3, 4. You can't do 99, 100, 101. They have to be in order, and it has to be starting with 1. So let's look at this in action. We can see the formula here, and I'm going to just change the number here, and it just changes the value that's returned from that list. Let's move on to a practical example of the choose function. So you can see in this example, it's a part of a larger LAMBDA function. And here it's allowing the user of the LAMBDA function to choose a special character with just numbers. And this might be handy because it's difficult to input that special character with the keyboard or difficult to enter that special character into a formula. For example, trying to output a quotation within a quotation. One trick to using this with a LAMBDA function is taking advantage of the fact that you can enclose a variable in square brackets, and if that variable is left out of the input into the lambda, the value of that is 0. So then you can use that as part of your choose and just offset that variable by +1. So if they input nothing, it'll give you the choose value of 1, which will be the first item in the list. This is used throughout Excel for many of their built-in functions where you can leave an argument out and it has a default characteristic. I've already moved this lambda function into the name manager, but you can view it here under quote list and see that the function is here as it's typed out in the sample. And let's play around with it. I can change the choose value from 1 to 2, and now we have Frosty Beer Mug separating the city names. And if I delete and leave out this argument altogether, it'll default to the 0 value, which will be 1 for the choose value, which is this char 34. That's it for this video. I hope you learned a lot about the choose and the switch function, and that you're comfortable using them in your daily Excel usage. I hope you consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.